Nigeria, by extension Africa, battles a growing youthful population and with little or no meaningful engagement leaves a ticking time bomb on our hands. We are a blessed continent with great wealth, both in people and material. Our focus on ways remains driving conversations that affects us all. Topics in the news, social concerns, politics, leadership, governance, empowerment, resource management, conflict management, finance, SME sustainability, technological innovation, food security, health, education, brain drain, our well-being, citizenship, and much more. Our goal is to continuously drive these conversations, keep them burning at the table to effect a positive change, both for our nation and continent. Ways, what are you saying, has a secret ingredient that completes the conversation every single episode, and that ingredient is you. Our past conversations shaped our yesterday. To shape our tomorrow, we must keep talking. So, I want to hear you. Be a part of our live conversations Mondays through Fridays. And let's all have our say.
In a democracy, power belongs to the people. Elected officials are public servants, not rulers, and must answer to those who gave them the mandate. However, in Nigeria, holding leaders accountable is often seen as risky or impossible. Despite this, citizens can and must play a central role in monitoring government actions and demanding better. Being a civic watchdog is not limited to activists or NGOs. Every citizen has to play their part, right? They have a role to play. It's a beautiful episode on the civic watchdogs, right? We're asking conversation. You can also head. We're over 6,000 strong today, so hit that subscribe button and keep sharing the links, keep liking and inviting your friends and family to watch. And when we open the phone lines, I'd really love to hear your thoughts on this. As always, let me allow you ponder on my quote for the day. It says, "Price of freedom is eternal vigilance." Really? It's such an apt quote, right? So, and this was from Thomas Jefferson. Right, the price of freedom is eternal vigilance. So you have to keep watching. So we'll delve into all of this much later. But first, let me run off on a break. When I come back, I'll let you in on my news interest for the day. Stay with me. All right, thanks for staying tuned. So I'm going to begin the What's in the News segment with this. It says the federal government needs about 880 billion naira yearly for road maintenance, and this was said by our honorable minister, David Umai. All right, so let me just quickly pull out the story. Now, according to, where did I find that story now? I think it was in the Punch. Why is my story running away from me today? Okay, yeah, I found it. So, according to the Punch, yes, the Minister for State, for Works, Mohammed Goroyo, on Monday declared that that the Nigerian government must spend approximately 880 billion for the maintenance of the federal road network across Nigeria. This is just as the Managing Director of the Federal Road Maintenance Agency, Chukwuemeka Abasi, said that the template for deducting the road user charge from the prices of petrol and diesel has never been implemented by the defunct Petroleum Product Pricing Regulatory Authority, right? Now the Nigerian Midstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority. It says those figures show gradual increases. They remain far below the necessary threshold for sustaining road maintenance. This persistent funding gap has forced FEMA, right, into a reactive mode of maintenance rather than a preventive approach. The consequences of these are glaring: deteriorating road conditions, increased repair costs, and prolonged disruptions for commuters and businesses alike. It says a proactive strategy backed by adequate funding is essential to ensure smooth, safe, and efficient roadways nationwide. He added that inadequate funding has been the major bane of the nation's road infrastructure, stressing that even though the user charge was supposed to address the gap, the agency and the ministry have not been able to access it. So, I mean, this is a conversation that we need to ask. So where has the funding been going to? You know, why did I think it was David May? All right, so I'll move on to my next story. Where has the funding been going to? Because, you know, if these deductions are already coming, you know, as part of the cost for petrol. So, I mean, we're getting somewhere. Because I've always asked that, how are we spending XYZ amount on petrol? What are the indices? What are the what adds up that entire cost that gives us that cost per liter? So I'm hearing one now. I mean, this is the first time I'm hearing it. I didn't know it existed. So if it does exist, how do they collect these funds, and where is it remitted to, and how come they are saying that they are not able to access it? Then this 880 billion naira, who is checking that that is actually what we need? Right? And who is checking, even if the fund is available, who is checking to ensure that it is spent on what is supposed to be spent on? So keeping them accountable. So that's why we're talking Watchdog today, right? So I'll move on to my next story. It says, allow polytechnics to award degrees. And this was from the National Association of Polytechnic Students. And they've called for the legislative upgrade of polytechnics to degree awarding institution. In a statement on Monday, signed by its president, Comrade Eshiofure Ogayan, the association said the upgrade will resolve the lingering dichotomy between higher national diploma and bachelors of science degree holders. Now, he says that we urge Mr. President and the National Assembly to empower polytechnics to award Bachelor of Technology and Bachelor of Science in Technology degrees. This reform will resolve the lingering dichotomy between HND and BSc holder. And the students further proposed a student insurance scheme, mental health awareness campaign, and improved campus security measures as part of the policy advocate. That's the NABS also outlined its commitment to supporting the administration while also holding government officials accountable for any actions that may undermine the president's vision for education. The association proposed several initiatives, including, of course, as mentioned earlier, the insurance, the mental health campaigns, campus security. It also declared June 12 as Adube Day to honor President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's record investment in education with a mass march planned across the country. I've always said that the polytechnics, right, if you go to other parts of the world, right, to go into a polytechnic is tougher than going into a university, because they are supposed to be the real core technical, technically trained professionals. So it's not supposed to be something that it is because you are not able to get into the university that you go into a polytechnic. So I hear them and I agree with them 100%. That dichotomy has to be eradicated. However, what is the state of polytechnics right now, you know, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of the quality of the education that is delivered, in terms of the quality of the learning environment? So those are all the factors that we also need to. I like that they pointed out infrastructural upgrades that needs to happen. So it is not just the certificate alone, because we shouldn't just focus on certification. What we should focus on is the fact that when these graduates actually come out with those bachelors in technology and bachelors in science of technology or whatever, they would actually be those people that can immediately be injected into the system. So they are not theoretical learners. They are practical learners. So it means that some of the infrastructural challenges that we have, or structural or technical challenges that we have as a country, these are supposed to be the people that would mop up, you know, those problems and, you know, based on their expertise, help us to, you know, just quickly mitigate it. So beyond the award, the degree itself, what is the quality of the education that is delivered there? Does it, measure to the standard of other polytechnics globally? If that is the answer, then why not? We'll move on to, giving them the accreditation. All right, so I'll do the final story for the day. And this was for the flood. I think it says states move to evacuate flood zones. That is the story. And let me just quickly read it. It says, finding by Punch shows that several states have also commenced measures to arrest flooding, with Nasarawa saying it has really bad. I think and I was chairman in charge of that area. Who is the governor in charge of Niger State? Who are the people, the officials, right? That entire region, who are they? Because again, I hear you. Most times when NIMET or all these bodies give out these warnings, people really don't understand. Was the warning really broken down in the language of the locals? Did they understand that this was actually not something to joke about? This is something that can take your life. Did they understand? Was it properly communicated to them? These are the kinds of engagement that we need. The National Orientation Agency, what was your role in all of this? Because you see, the more we keep, asking the pertinent questions, then maybe we'll get better answers. Because as it stands now, right, for this magnitude of flood, because it was an Al Jazeera reporter that I watched the video. I said, for the magnitude of flood, you cannot tell me that the flood caught them unawares. Because they've been warning us of this flood. It's just that, I think a lot of times we also don't believe things like this. So I just want to use this medium to beg. If you are in any area that, has had the history of flooding, please leave. Don't wait, right? Leave. Don't wait. Leave that area with immediate effect. Let us not, because we are playing with our lives. In Nigeria, I don't think it is a big deal if people actually are unalived. I don't think it's a big deal. So we need to be very, very, conscious of our own safety. Be your own watchdog and help yourself. So if there is any area that you're staying right now and that has a history of flooding, it's very likely that that area will be flooded, because from the report, 30 states, right? 30 states, they are saying 176 local government areas, 1,249 communities. What will remain? So we all need to just be careful and just be on the lookout. Let us not, be part of the casualties that will be counted. All right, we'll go on a short break. When we come back from that break, let's discuss our civic duties as watchdogs. Stay with us.
Life is made up of moments, some that fill us with joy, others that test our strength. Welcome to Heartlines. This is our space to explore the highs and lows of human connection, the love, the heartbreak, and resilience that shapes our life. From relationships to friendships, parenting to partnerships, and so much more. Every week, we share stories and conversations that define us, navigating love, separations, the struggles of parenting, dealing with anxiety and managing the pressures and stress of life. Real conversations that bring us closer, helping us heal, grow, and connect. So join me Mondays through Fridays at 10 p.m. for Heartlines, the show where we connect hearts, have real conversations with real people, one story at a time.
All right, so what does it mean to be a civic watchdog? A civic watchdog is any individual or group that actively monitors the actions of public officials and institutions. You know, you also expose wrongdoing and you demand accountability. Now, this role ensures that leaders act in the public interest and that public resources are not misused. Civic watchdogs help protect democracy by shining a light on corruption, abuse of power, and inefficiency. So joining me to shed more light on this is Olugbenga George. He is Coalition of Young Compatriots in Africa. Benga, are you the founder?
Well, it's a coalition, like you hear it. So it's a combination of different.
Oh, okay.
groups.
But even if it's a coalition, is it not one person that will start the
Well,
coalition before others will join?
I am regarded as the convener.
Oh, the convener. Aha, because my producer did not put the right what's it called, terminology for you. Thank you so much for joining me this evening.
It's a pleasure. It's so great to be here again.
Yeah, so always lovely to have you. So Benga, let's chat. You know, why do we first of all need to start to take on this role as watchdogs in Nigeria? Why is it important?
Let me begin by saying that there is a popular saying that says that absolute power corrupts absolutely of the public who put them into power. It is basic. Generally, the discussion is always life is about it's about interest. What we have today, especially in Africa's democracy, is a division between the interests of those who are governing and those who are being governed. So it is very important for those who are being governed, since they are the umpire that brings in those who govern, to continue to watch them, to ensure that they carry out the functions and duties for which they have been brought into office.
That's very interesting. Are watchdogs, the roles of watchdog, right, is it an effective way to truly monitor? So if I take on that role as a watchdog, how effective is it to monitor leaders, right? That is in general terms. But if you then bring it down, so it's two questions in one. If you then bring it down to Nigeria, can a watchdog truly effect any meaningful difference, in terms of calls for accountability and all of that?
The two, for both questions, the answer is yes. Watchdogs are very important, like we stated, because they help to keep those who are given the opportunity or the responsibility of leadership in check. Now, can the work of a watchdog actually, be meaningful? Yes, absolutely. As long as one is not in the side of power, the other party should be watchdogs. Every other person should be watchdog. Because what are we watching, basically? I think that's where we begin the conversation from. We are actually watching something that we all have in common. So for Nigeria, for example, we have a nation that we call Nigeria that has 36 states, that has the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, that has mineral resources in almost every state, that has crude oil, that has quality people and human resources that it exports to every part of the world. So this is a treasure that should be guided. This is a treasure that everyone needs, to be on their feet to ensure that, to a great extent, that these people are able to actually fulfill their obligation of ensuring that each individual within the frame Nigeria is able to fulfill themselves. The essence of government, in School of Political Economy, it says that no government is allowed to increase its population faster than it can increase their chances of happiness. So the responsibility of government, or the reason why we choose leaders to go into leadership roles is so that they can help us manage resources and convert them to public use so that everybody can have a fair share of what is naturally and abundantly deposited under our sky, under our earth, within our geographical space. So the responsibility of watchdogs, especially in the Nigeria case, is very important. And the failure of effective watchdog is the reason why we are at the point and at the position where we are in the country at the moment. How do I mean? Over the years, we have had, especially since the reintroduction of democracy in 1999, we have had a citizenry that seem not to be too interested in the concept of politics and what happens in the world of those who lead. Yes, we are aware that elections happen every 4 years, and somehow we have managed to be a part of that. And that is, where the fundamental problem starts from. Not being interested, in who leads, in who manages resources is one of the reasons why we continue to have the issues that we have, across the different spaces and sectors of Nigeria, especially where leadership is concerned.
Sorry, Gbenga, I just needed to butt in there a little bit, right? Because when you say that we are not being interested in who leads and all of that, it is the system that we have created. In other parts of, you see, that was why I was very careful when I was asking you the second question, whether watchdog, the phenomenon as watchdog, whether it will work in Nigeria. You know why I say this? In societies that want to be accountable to their people, they teach the people civic education. Right? From the curriculum, it is mandated that as a child, right, from nursery school, you are being taught bite-sized, bite-sized information about your country. It makes you fall in love with your country, makes you understand the legalities of your country. It makes you understand the role you have to play as a citizen and your rights as citizens. We are in a country where it doesn't seem like they are interested in educating you on what your civic, your civic stance is as a citizen in Nigeria. So the question I ask, because you can't say that people are not interested. People can only be interested in something that they have an idea about, right? They know that this is what this would directly translate to in my life. So we are the ones that have created Nigeria as it is. We have created citizens that are not interested to know anything about leadership, governance, what is going on in the National Assembly, what is going on. Do you understand? We have created this crop of citizens. So the question again, back to my question, the idea of watchdog, will it be effective in Nigeria? Because already the people they are at a disadvantaged position, right? They are at a disadvantaged position because they have a lot of people do not even have information. So what are we then working with?
Okay, thank you very much. You see, I don't like to go to the blame game, where we start to talk about why we are where we are, and especially with the colonial influence and impact on the system of our governance. But that is, we cannot actually remove that, from the equation. It plays a major role. However, I do not believe that that should continue to be our excuse. We are 65 years old. A 65-year-old man or person is a fully matured person. So we ought to have come of age to be able to decide how our governance and our country is being run. However, the influence, that colonialism and, all the negativities that came with it, lives on the space, on the public space in Nigeria, especially where learning, civic responsibility is concerned, is very huge. That impact is huge. Let me fast forward to talk about something that, I have, been involved with recently. We've been talking about why is it that Nigerian leaders, come into the national coffers, pilfer our goods, take a lot of money, take it to the Western banks and Africa in general. This is an African problem, actually. They take They steal a lot of money, for example. They take it to Swedish bank, they take it to Barclays. I mean, they take it to all of the banks. And it is there for years. And if there is no no inquiry, no intentional inquiry into it, it goes on and on like that. So, and then these same people come back to say African leaders are corrupt. When the monies are being sent to those banks, are they not supposed to be queried to know how this money is come? What I'm saying in essence is that the concept of colonialism, in Africa and, by extension Nigeria, have not actually been totally expunged. We are still experiencing it in one way or the other. And that is why I feel that the responsibility of having civic watchdogs, is very important. Yes, because government, for example, now we are talking about, yes, because government, for example, now we are talking about different governments, especially since the introduction of democracy, going to a borrowing spree. Other that is actually concerned with maybe let's reduce our debt burden and all of that. But you see that continuously, successive governments continue to involve in borrowing, and you're wondering why. Well, we see the impact, we see the effect. We know that there are resources on ground, but the conversations and the negotiations that are supposed to utilize those resources for the good and the betterment of the people are definitely not had. Those conversations are not had. Rather, what we have is that these resources are taken and brought back, in one way or the other. Our crude, for example. So it is an Africa problem, and those who come into leadership actually get to inherit this. For example, now, let's use a practical example. The person that left a debt burden with the IMF, with the World Bank, with Chinese bank, with all the different banks internationally, and, threw the country into trillions and trillions of debt. He knew what he was doing. I mean, and these countries also know. But what has been done to significantly stop this?
Okay.
What has been done? So the civic dogs, civic watchdogs, it becomes imperative, I beg your pardon, for individuals, to actually wake up to this responsibility, knowing fully well that those who are in government sometimes have their hands tied. It's easy to actually blame them, but they go into different agreements by these international bodies that, put them in stringent conditions in order to keep them in perpetual subjectiveness and beggarliness. And it is wrong. And this is why civic watchdogs must actually rise up and begin to approach it from that angle before we come local.
Okay. So I just want to quickly touch on something that you said. You said that a 65-year-old person, you understand, you're supposed to know what you're doing. I want to go back and humbly say that it is an intentional and educated 65-year-old person, right, that would not, that will know better and that will do better, right? Because if I have a baby today, I have a newborn baby, 2025, nothing is done to that baby. The baby is just in a black room, right? No form of books, no. Intellectually, that baby is still a baby, right?
Yeah.
I'm not arguing. Dogs are here on this other side that are not in power. The people that are in power, they must also be willing to be watched, right? They must also be willing to be watched. You touched on the IMF loan. We asked a very simple question. When that loan was paid off, how come that there was no intention to actually let us in on how the funds were gotten to be able to pay off that loan? Right? We asked that question till today. Correct me if I'm wrong. I've not seen any report that says, okay, this is where we got XYZ billion to be able to clear off the IMF loan. That, for me, is not transparency. It's not enough for you to tell me you paid a loan. What if you took another loan to pay, rob Peter to pay Paul? Secondly, all of these conversations around, what's it called, debt and financing and all of that. You took away subsidy as a government. We are yet to get a proper report to say, okay, from the time I assumed office and I announced subsidy is gone, XYZ amount of money has been generated, and this is what it has been channeled to. Maybe this infrastructure or that infrastructure. So will watchdogs, you understand, will they be able to watch what's it called, someone that is not willing to be watched? Because to some extent, I feel like it has to be both palms rubbing each other. When we hold you accountable, you also need to submit yourself to accountability. Or am I wrong to think that way?
You are not wrong, Uwa. You are very correct. You are very correct. However, you must know that if someone benefits personally, you know, and from a system, from an institution, chances are that he will continue to protect his interests. And that is the anathema of the current democracy that we have at the moment, where people, you know, do not prioritize public interest over their personal interest. However, I would also like to state that sometimes these informations are also made available. I understand the allusion you made to, you know, the paying off of the IMF loan and how it was, how the sources for the funds were not are clearly stated. I agree, you know, that the government should be more accountable to that and be more transparent and be more detailed in telling Nigerians how, you know, that fund was gotten and how it was paid. And, you know, because there are a lot of funds that they are talking about now, for example, talking about moving foreign, I beg your pardon. Okay, so foreign, oh my God. Okay, I beg your pardon. So basically, the government is to some extent, I mean, they release information. The responsibility of civic watchdogs, which is the responsibility of every single Nigerian who is not in power, is to query each of those decisions, each of those information. And good enough, because the system has actually known, has tested over time and realized that those who are in power will intentionally want to release information. The law in Nigeria has gone forward, you know, to make a law to that effect, to say that the Freedom of Information Act, which was passed into law during the administration of President Goodluck Jonathan.
Go on a very short break, because I down more tools. You just touched on the Freedom Act as tactics that citizens can start to use, you know, to demand some of these accountability and act as watchdogs. I would like you to break down more tools. Then we'll now possibly find like quick wins, way forward, you know, for us to actually keep our leaders in check. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Life is made up of moments, some that fill us with joy, others that test our strength. Welcome to Heartlights. This is our space to explore the highs and lows of human connection, the love, the heartbreak, and resilience that shapes our life. From relationships to friendships, parenting to partnerships, and so much more. Every week, we share stories and conversations that define us, navigating love, separations, the struggles of parenting, dealing with anxiety and managing the pressures and stress of life. Real conversations that bring us closer, helping us heal, grow, and connect. So join me Mondays through Fridays at 10 p.m. for Heartlines, the show where we'll connect hearts, have real conversations with real people, one story at a time.
All right, thanks for staying tuned. And if you are just tuning in, thank you so much for joining us. We're discussing citizens watchdog, right? We need to become watchdogs for our our leaders, just to put a check to some of the the nuances of leadership or maybe absolute power, like the guest had talked about. So please, let's hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-84663. You can also call our phone lines. The numbers to call are 07025007749 or 07014242420. It'll be important for us to hear what you have to say. Do you think we are doing enough as citizens? Can we truly take on the role as watchdogs, right, to our current crop of leaders, right? And I have with me Adeboyega. He's joined me via Zoom. Adegbenga, sorry. Yes, so, I mean, Benga, before we went on a break, you touched on, what's it called, using the Freedom of Information Act, right? There are other tools that we can actually take advantage of. Do you want to quickly run us through those tools? Benga, are you there?
Yes, I am here.
Yeah,
Can you
go
see
ahead.
me? All right. So there are several other tools that we can use. There are budget tracking tools, for example, and we have an organization that's called Budgets in Nigeria that has actually maximized this tool to demand, how government spends its money. And it was reported that 56% of federally funded projects in 2023 alone were abandoned. And that's according to budget. They have a project that's called Tracker. And 1.2 trillion naira was lost. And actually take advantage of those kind of tools, budget tracker. They also documented 47% resolution rate for projects flagged by citizens in 2023 versus 12% that were unflagged. So that is another very important tool that we can use. Then there is another tool that's called Shine Your Eye. I believe, this one is also a very important tool. It is an engagement analytic that helps to provide information. For example, it stated in 2023 alone, a report from Primetime states that 62% of representatives contacted via Shine Your Eye responded to constituent queries, which means, unlike we always think that our leaders don't respond, it means that sometimes the people don't actually make efforts to actually ask in terms of directly reaching out to them to ask. It's another tool that is very prevalent that we use now is social media. And I like to, have on this a little more than others because of time. The concept of social media, has what I call both risk and rewards, For example, social media has helped through projects like the Open National Assembly, that was inaugurated in 2027, has helped to pressure the National Assembly to publish their budget. And if you remember, they reviewed 150 billion naira annual office upkeep costs. That was where that information came from. It was through the Open NAS, and that is a social media drive. And it is very interesting and very important that citizens can actually engage that. There is also other parts, fact-checking part of this, which I believe that civil society organizations especially can take advantage of to ensure that questions are asked and that responses are gotten. The interesting part of social media is we have very notable individuals who have been doing well with this. We have very dark man, for example, who has shown examples that social media can be used for good. Because it comes to the social media, it talks about what a government official is not doing right. And, you see the whole citizens go agog trying to, air their voices. And we have seen, especially, how effective this tool works, because especially in this administration of President Tinubu,
just to even add to
seen.
what you're saying, there's a young man called Randy Peters, right? He's also doing something really amazing. He's been calling for electoral reforms. And I believe because he did a 30-day challenge, he went to the National Assembly to submit so he's not just ranting on social media. He's also gone to the National Assembly to go and submit a formal petition to say that we are calling for electoral reforms. I mean, he's been going around, So I also believe that, yes, he is someone that is doing amazing. For want of time, right, I wanted you to quickly touch on, what do you think are the what's it called? The challenges. If I decide to wake up today and say I want to be a watchdog, we saw the young girl that went on social media to start a 30-day rant. That is also being a watchdog, right? Because that was a form of her calling out the government to say, this is what is going on. What are you doing about it? That is like keeping them accountable. But we saw how it panned out that, they were threatening her from her NYSC secretariat, blah, blah, blah. But long and short, I mean, because the people were with her, they couldn't do much. But this is just one out of many that we do not know about. I hear that a lot of people that were arrested during the NSAS protest, they are still in police custody, right? So what do you think, if you wanted to quickly summarize the challenges we will face when we decide, should we decide to take on this role as watchdogs, what will be those challenges that we are going to be facing? Quickly run by that, then we can now think of way forward.
All right. We must be prepared to know that, first of all, if you are going to watch somebody who doesn't want to be watched, like you said earlier, the person is not going to allow you to watch them freely. So what we have is that we must be prepared for refusals by those who are in leadership, like the example you cited, and that's talking about the NYSC core member in Lagos who made an allegation, and was received the way it was received. I mean, that's a public story that everyone knows about. So they are definitely going to refuse to be checked. They are definitely going to refuse to. They are going to try to avoid being checked upon. They are being watched, and that is not now supposed to make us say, okay, we are going to go back. We have seen others, the example I cited, we have seen people who speak for public and then they are arrested. So that also cannot be ruled out or may not be ruled out. We must be prepared, for all of that. Challenges also, such as also being denied of certain rights and in the public, are also there. It might not come directly, but we must be prepared for it. And because social space is also replete with several examples of this, people who are intentionally denied without being told. For example, people are picked and arrested without actually being told why they're arrested, without even a proper warrant. Or sometimes they go and get a warrant and they tell you this is the situation, you have been arrested, and maybe it is until the whole explanation is gone before you can actually they know the reason why such person is being arrested. Am I being heard?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So we must be prepared, to know that the work of being a civic watchdog is not going to be something that, is going to be easy. We must expect all of the refusal, all of the objection from those who are in power. We must expect it, like we are witnessing even now, like we have always witnessed in this country. You made an allusion to some NSAS protesters. Should NSAS have happened? Of course, it shouldn't have happened. Those that lost their lives, have they been admitted? I mean, has it been admitted publicly that people lost their lives? No. So it is not going to be easy. I mean, it's not a responsibility or a task that is going to be easy, even though it ought to be. And I kind of have some faith, in the current leadership of the country, not in a particular individual, you get what I mean, but because of the fact that democracy is improving and the subject of accountability demanding is also improving, that those who are in power will sit up and know that they are being watched, and then they will behave better. We just hope. I mean, that's just hope, by the way. It is not a guarantee. But your question is that what should we expect? And I believe that we should not expect that it's going to be one fell swoop, something so easy that it will be a walk in the park that we'll just say something and then the government will just respond. Of course, miracles do happen. And I believe that maybe when Nigeria reaches or Africa reaches its season of miracles, maybe we can speak to our leader and then the response falls according to the
So how do we move forward quickly, because we're running out of time, right?
All right. All right. I came here with two solutions. One is that we must put on our resilience cap, moving forward. We must, just like I said, because we already know that they are not going to let us have it easily. They are not going to just respond to us because we demand it. So we have to continue. We will not be tired. We must not be tired. We must not be discouraged by what is being done to other people. We must not say, I'm not going to air my voice because I don't want to be arrested or I don't want to be labeled as anti-government or whatnot. That is on the side one. Side two is that we must become more awakened, about intentionally electing our leaders. That is the most important part, of this entire conversation. In the political space right now, the most prevalent story is coalition. And I was discussing earlier today with a group of, young political persons, and they were saying about coalition, how they were going to join. And I said, excuse me, look at the crop of people who are in that coalition and give me their history in this country. There are people who have been there, who continue to recycle themselves, and they are not ready to leave soon. Where is the coalition of the Nigerian youth? Where is the coalition of those who are oppressed? Where is the coalition of those who are daily killed, who are daily marginalized in this country? There is for me, there is an elite capture in this country, and those who come in the name of whatever they want to come, just come to grab power. We have seen it in this country. This is not the first time. The current challenge that we are experiencing in this country right now, dating back to 10, 11 years ago or 12 years ago, when the APC was formed, we see as a result of a coalition. What did it bring to us? So what I am saying in essence is that the Nigerian people, must actually unite themselves, must decide that they want to be informed, must decide that they want to form their own coalition, and they must unite their interests. We must not say for party A or for party B, without critiquing the proposals, without critiquing the manifestos, of the political parties we claim to support. These are not the days when you just identify with politics for the purpose of just identifying. No, we are saying that you have to identify with intention. We have to identify with purpose. You have to, and what is that purpose? A better Nigeria. And how do we decipher it? We have seen the track record of many who have handled power, at one point or the other, and we see what they are bringing to the table. And then we can now look within ourselves to say we are also able, to step up to the plate. And that's my message really, that more Nigerians, especially young people who have not tasted power, should have courage to confront the institutions, to confront the system and say that we deserve to be here and win the support of the same people, the people with whom they are in the same situation.
Absolutely.
It's easier for me to say, where the shoe pinches. Both of us have suffered this thing, so let's go and solve the problem.
Together.
Unlike people who don't really know what the people are going through. The elites in Nigeria don't know the cost of the bag of rice. They don't know the cost of a model of Gary. They don't know all those things. They just have it in a store, and it is there.
Demand for this better. Okay, so I was just going to say that democracy thrives when to be there. System, it will be a struggle, like the guest said. It's not going to be easy because you are literally going to take food out of their mouth, right? But the future of the country depends not only on the elections, but also on the everyday vigilance. So let us be intentional about checking our leaders. So thank you so much for watching. Before I go, ensure you subscribe across all our social media platforms, more importantly, our YouTube channel, the official Upgrade TV. You can interact with us further, drop a comment, and most importantly, follow all our engagements on social media, like, share, invite your families and friends to watch and follow the conversation. I love this quote. It's very short but straight to the point. It says, the price of freedom is eternal vigilance. So if you truly want to be free, you must be the one to watch this, guys. And this was from Thomas Jefferson. I'll see you guys tomorrow, 8 p.m. live. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Nigeria, by extension Africa, battles a growing youthful population, and with little or no meaningful engagement, leaves a ticking time bomb on our hands. We are a blessed continent with great wealth, both in people and material. Our focus on ways remains driving conversations that affects us all. Topics in the news, social concerns, politics, leadership, governance, empowerment, resource management, conflict management, finance, SME sustainability, technological innovation, food security, health, education, brain drain, our well-being, citizenship, and much more. Our goal is to continuously drive these conversations, keep them burning at the table to effect a positive change, both for our nation and continent. Ways, what are you saying, has a secret ingredient that completes the conversation every single episode, and that ingredient is you. Our past conversations shaped our yesterday. To shape our tomorrow, we must keep talking. So, I want to hear you. Be a part of our live conversations Mondays through Fridays. And let's all have our say.